Hello and welcome to the Dream Interpretation Podcast, the show about life transformation through dream interpretation. I'm Michael Sheridan. On the show, through analysing your dreams, I reveal your potential and the obstacles you need to overcome. I'm very specific. I tell you what your superpowers are from analysing your dreams and the bumps in life that are holding you back. These bumps are not in the way, they are the way. I have a very special show for you today. I'm talking about Bruce Klein's new book, Do You Hear My Voice? And talking about dream interpretation, helping you transform your life. All the way through this book, Bruce has recorded his dreams or fragments of his dreams and the analysis of them and how they helped him on his spiritual journey. The book is about his spiritual awakening and ultimately getting to a point where he could learn to channel, which is first dream he ever had analysed with me, told him he could do, and then hear the voice of his twin flame. So let's jump straight into the interview with Bruce. I just got the book on Friday and I had it read by Saturday morning. So it's a very enjoyable read, very quick read. It's the type of story I like. It's about your spiritual journey. Why it's interesting for listeners to this show is you talk about dreams all the way through the book. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure being here, and it's quite an honor to be on your show. And actually, you mentioned that dreams are a big part of the story, and yes, they were. I mean, that's what propelled the story along was the dreams I had and your help interpreting those dreams.
I've known you about 3.5 years, thereabouts. You went to Ann Tucker's Wisdom Soup in Bellevue.
Actually, I missed your first talk, and I had a friend who was telling me about it, and I got really interested. And that time I went out and bought your book.
All right.
And then I saw you at a couple of those Wisdom Soups, and I said, I had this crazy dream, and I've got to send it to him. And I don't know what this dream was, probably 3 pages long. It was a long dream, and I have to this day I don't know why you would answer a random email and answer this dream in the detail you did. But there was things about that dream that intrigued me, and that I'd never heard before if someone was talking about one of my dreams.
Right.
So that and then throughout the whole course of this book, I keep hitting those points when those dreams became really important and part of my spiritual journey.
Yeah, and that's what I love. They are part of our spiritual journey, even if we don't know it, even when we're not being spiritual. You are also the host of and founder of a podcast called When Religion Unravels. And
correct.
So I refer to this book as the start of your spiritual journey. How is a religious upbringing not the start of your spiritual journey?
It may be the start of my spiritual journey, but it's the fact I had to go through that and kind of reject a lot of pieces of that whole religious environment that got me to a place where I could hit my real spiritual journey, my spiritual reawakening, so to speak, right? Because I was never connected in the way that I'm connected now.
All right, I love it. And you said, they're my favorite type of book because it's a spiritual journey. It is about your spiritual journey and condensed to the parts that we're all going to want to hear about. You gloss over in the book how long it must have taken you to learn how to channel, because you even said that one of your favorite parts of the book is the whole chapter is channeled.
Right.
Tell us briefly what the book is about. Where does your spiritual journey start and where does it take you to?
My spiritual journey really started when I started to attend that Wisdom Soup meeting. And then, but the point where it started with a dream. And in that dream, it was almost like a Groundhog Day moment. And the dream kept repeating over and over again, and over. I just kept, trust your heart and not your head, trust your heart and not your head. And so that dream was pounded into my head that night.
And this is where you have to rearrange photographs around a lake.
Correct.
And
that's the same dream. And so So in the dream, there was a lake, and I had to arrange these photographs in a particular order, but I wasn't really sure what that order was. And so all day long, I would struggle trying to move these photographs around in different locations. Finally, at the end of the day, evidently I got it in the right order because I heard the voice. It was almost a condescending voice saying, "Trust, come on, trust your heart and not your head." And then all of a sudden, that whole scene would reset again.
And when you finally figured out the puzzle, that's when you got the name of who you're writing about in the book.
It's actually, yeah, when I got the puzzle, I woke up and it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I looked at my clock, and all of a sudden I was lying there and I heard a voice. And I'd never heard, well, number one, I've never really had that type of experience hearing an actual voice in the middle of the night. But this one was a very unique voice. And it was like I was hearing each word sound like a forward track layered on a reverse track. And I
Yes.
was almost like I could almost hear the words coming at me before they got to me. It was very unique, and I found out why later in the book. You'll find out why. But it but the voice said, "My name is Jessica. I'll be guiding you through the next phase of your life. Do you hear my voice?" And that's where the title comes from.
Right.
And I said, "Yes." And she says, "This voice is different than your voice, right? Can you hear the difference?" And I'm looking around going, "Yeah, I can." Says, "When you hear this voice again, you'll know it's my voice and not yours. I want you to remember it'll be very important to you." And then it was gone.
And you didn't know how important.
I didn't realize how important that voice was and how important that relationship would become. And that's the essence of the book in a lot of ways.
Part of your story reminds me of Paddy McMahon. He wrote the Grand Design books. Before he wrote his first book, he thought he had written his first book, and he was recording all this dialogue with a spiritual being, and then at some point, the being said, "Okay, we're ready to start now," and he's like looking at all these pages. But you've written about your journey, and there is a climax, because at the end of the book, and I'm not giving it away because I'm not saying what's in it, but you channel Jessica purely at the end of the book, your questions, her answers. And
Correct.
do you think that's going to go further?
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing, is that the piece that I fought about the most this whole time is the channeling, because I didn't have the confidence. I didn't know I could do it. And as I was writing the book, I realized, oh my gosh, I can do this. And so that chapter, there's so much insight for me there about what happens. Because in the chapter, she tells me what was happening in the spirit world as I was going through my reawakening, so to speak.
Right.
And so there was so much about what happens on that side of the veil that I was just blown away by it. And I think that I've already started to plan to write the next book, and it's going to be a continuation of those channeling sessions. And I want to go a little bit deeper.
There's one part in that discussion section with her. In the fourth discussion, Jessica says, harsher lives have greater growth benefits. And of
Right.
course, I say that all the time. I don't use those words, but
Right.
I say the bumps in life are not in the way, they are the way. Can you share a little bit about what she said about that?
I had a past life regression where I met her. And one of the things that I discovered in that, she said that it's not necessarily the easy life that makes things great. It's the challenges. And so we should actually be looking upon our scars as medals of honor and not be embarrassed by them. Even though you don't like those painful moments, that's what makes you. That's the essence of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think you could write a book about that on its own.
Yeah.
You do have lots of accounts in the book about past lives with Jessica, and where you're a different person, she's a different person. The ones you shared are ones where you didn't connect, and you said you
Right.
specifically picked those. Was that because they have a kind of a Hollywood feel where everybody's rooting for you to get the girl?
No, I don't know why, but I think there's something about the essence of our relationship that even though there were those times when we weren't together, there's still that love there. And that's really one of my, there's one about in a monk, a Buddhist monk, and a street merchant girl. And that's probably my favorite story of the whole thing, just because it does kind of, I guess it does have a little bit of a Hollywood ending, because it's not
It
till
does.
her deathbed that she admits that she loves him.
How did you feel? Because reading, I mean, very gripping. It was very gripping reading the stories, especially that one. But how did you feel in it? Because you got regressed into those former lives. Did they
Right.
feel? Did you fully feel connected with them? I mean, you must have, to the point where you wrote about them.
Yeah, I did. And the more I started writing, the more that started to come back. But yeah, the one, especially that Indian one, I when I got regressed into it, I could see things. I could even smell the marketplace.
Right.
It was really strange. It was so visual, and there were so many, the pain I felt was very real. It was a real pain. It was real emotional pain. It was real. I could feel these things going on, and it was very difficult in some ways just to write it down.
Well, I have a question for you, because in that lifetime you were a monk who was revered for his wisdom.
Uh-huh.
Did you at some point go, "Oh my gosh, I'm going backwards"?
Never thought of it that way, but maybe maybe that's
Oh, it
what it
is
is.
interesting, because each life is chosen for its own merits, and we don't
Right.
need to be enlightened, let's say, spiritually in each one. They're all spiritual growth. But I had to ask you that one. um, so you started off on your 2-year quest. Let's say you're 3.5 years in. Have you enjoyed the journey as you've gone along? Like, you've learned to channel, and these are things you had to put time and energy into learning how to do. You've learned to
Right.
channel. Um, you, I know you attended lots of classes. I know you even attended classes with Heidi, for instance. And
Hmm.
so at some point, everything had to coalesce and gel for you to be able to hear Jessica clearly. Um,
Right.
what would you say to people who are at the start of a journey and maybe wondering if it's worth the effort? Like, do you remember being at a point like that where you're like, will I continue, or will I just slip back into my own life?
I can remember being in Heidi's class and sitting there and going, what in the heck am I doing here? This is not me. This channeling stuff. There's a part of me, the intellectual part of me, that's saying, nobody can do this. This is all BS. Nobody can really
Right.
do this. And then all of a sudden having these hits, it's little tiny hits that start to come in, and you go, oh, maybe there is something to this. And then the more you start investigating, the more time and effort you put into it, the more you're starting to understand, oh, that this is a different world. And I'm going off into this strange world. And now I'm with this book, I'm going out and I'm telling people, hey, look, I'm one of those strange people.
So
Instead of like,
that's one of my
because
questions. What actually made you decide to write the book? And how do you feel now that you've outed yourself because you've written the book? You didn't even use a pseudonym. So it's like
I know,
Bruce Klein.
and there's the other piece. I was thinking I should have written it as a fiction. Then I would have
Right.
had it out, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this way, it's under my name. I'm purporting it as a real story, which it is. And so I was asked by Catherine, who's in the book, if I'd ever thought about writing my story, because I told my story to several people for quite a while. And she said, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I thought, not me. I was having struggling passing high school English class. How could you think I could write a book? And then a week after that, I had two random women come up and ask me the same question, who didn't know anything about me. They didn't know anything about my story. And I'm going, there's something to this. There's something about the universe is trying to tell me I need to write this book.
Absolutely. And when I remember from looking at your dreams before, writing was one of the things. And I knew you were writing a book, but it was a factual account of um, your experiences in a religious cult. Can I say cult? Uh,
Yeah.
I was looking for a softer word, but that's where I landed. And and so I was surprised when you said you were writing the book, what it was about, because I think you've got a few books in you, even if you weren't doing this one. But going back to that question, was there a point when you felt like giving up that you would say to people who are listening, it's worth the effort, stick with the challenges and overcome them?
I can tell you that this, what I've learned and the things I've seen, I couldn't even imagine 2 or 3 years ago, even experiencing some of the spiritual experiences I've had. I've been at the highest highs, I've been to the lowest lows, but it's all part of that journey.
We're going to talk about one of the dreams. Little did I know when you sent me a dream and I sent you the analysis that you were going to publish it in a book, word for word, years later.
But see that's what, when I was writing the book, I was looking at that. I said, there's no way that I can summarize this dream. The purity in your interpretation and from what the symbols in the dream. I remember there's several symbols where I've gone back to over and over again just because they're so real to me.
Right.
And they were so important to me. And so I thought that's why it was important to publish the whole analysis in the book.
Well, it's my favorite thing, dreams, as you know, but channeling is also my other favorite thing. I can have more than one favorite. Yeah. At one point in the book, you talk about helping earthbound souls, helping them move into the light. And this is a common thing with people who teach themselves how to channel, pretty much. And in the channeling groups that I was in years ago, when I was trying to learn how to do it, this is something we did too. I subsequently discovered it's common because they're easier souls to connect with because they're at a lower vibration, not having to raise your vibration up to your guides. What did you think of doing that? Because if you're new into the field, it's like, oh, is the spirit world real? And then you're channeling earthbound souls and helping them connect with their guides and make the connection back. How did that all feel to you?
At first it felt very strange. And I was just, in my mind, I was going, well, on some of those shows on TV, this is how they do it. So I guess I could do it too. And so I was taking that advice from these ghost adventure shows on TV and trying to figure out how to do this. But as I was pulled through the whole thing, I found out that actually when you do that function, it's actually a very important thing for some of these souls who are kind of stuck. Yeah, and they don't have a way to go. But it's also important to treat it as a very spiritual endeavor, not to make light of it.
Oh, you get a lot of positive karma for helping earthbound souls. And in your book, you talk about the reasons they get stuck as well, and I won't give it away, but I love it. You give a lovely summary of these are the 3 main reasons that this happens. And what's useful if you're reading the book is make sure you don't fall into one of those categories then, because you don't want to, because then you'll have to wait for Bruce to take a nap and help you. Or in your case, not always take
when I pass on and I see that light, I'm running for it. I'm not I'm not gonna wait.
How would you summarize, like, in your journey? So part of your journey, you learn how to channel, you discover you can hear this voice of Jessica, and she kind of weaves in and out of your life over the next long period of time, and still today, presumably, even more as more and more time has gone on. You have changed. You've left your career.
For the most part, I am concentrating on my spiritual pursuits. I've started to write a lot more. I've started to really dig into the meditation, that meditation piece. I know a lot of people talk about it, but it's just so important.
In the book, you start off where you're sneaking off to go visit a grave because you've discovered at this point where Jessica is buried. How did that feel? Because you didn't go there straight away, so you've already built up the relationship with her before you made that journey.
Yeah, it felt interesting because I knew, to me, she was very much a living entity, but there I was going to visit a grave. but I knew at some point I had to visit the grave to honor the life that she lived
Right.
and to pay respect to that life.
So when you started off in the field, what was your view of reincarnation? And was it a difficult thing to overcome?
I didn't believe in reincarnation. Well, when I started out, I was, when people die, that's it. It's done, right? When the mortal body's dead, that's it. The more I've gone in the spiritual journey, the more I realize that it is a real thing, and we do live multiple lives. And the challenge is, and this is the part where your dreams kill me, is because you keep getting your dreams keep slapping you in the face and saying you're not dealing with this aspect that you're supposed to be dealing with. And until you actually start working on it, it keeps coming back and telling you, in this life, you committed to doing this and you're not doing it.
Right.
Get your act together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly in the uh, stories you shared, the past lives you shared, they were difficult lives
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. How do you feel about that, having lived difficult lives and then being another life now and comparing each life and saying, okay, where's the trajectory? Is that a
Right.
question in your mind?
There is a bit of that where I'm trying to figure out, well, it was difficult. What have I learned? Have I really learned anything in my journey in some of these cases? But I know that there's different aspects of everything that I'm learning, and there's some things where I'm relearning. I have to relearn and understand them again. Jessica in the back of the book actually talks a lot about the challenges we have in life, where we come into life and we're we have we're meant to do certain things, but we don't remember any of that.
Yes.
And we kind of have to fumble our way through. And so I think that's the beauty of this life that we're going through, is we're kind of finding our own way through life.
So you're going to spiritual communities, asking your questions, and then you discover, hang on, I lived a life as a monk where I was enlightened, and I was the one answering the questions. And I jokingly asked, do you feel like you're going backwards? But I think it's true for many of us. We can always look back and connect with a previous lifetime, and bring the wisdom of that lifetime into this one. Do you think that's part of your journey in this one?
I think that's part of the journey, because I know that there's several lifetimes where I had similar experiences. And so there's something about that I have to integrate into my life now. And but I don't have to live that celibate life that they do.
So speaking of that, have your family read your book, and what's the reaction? Because a huge theme in the book is love from the spirit world.
Right. My wife knows the story. No, but there is something very uniquely different about what I experienced with Jessica and what I experienced with my wife. I love my wife dearly, but it's still, there's something different about this other relationship with Jessica that's not of this world.
And of course, everybody who has near-death experiences, they talk about this tremendous love that they get from enlightened beings on the other side that help them review all their experiences up until this time. So you read about it, but you've experienced it while still alive. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I've experienced a few times while I've been alive, which is really cool.
Right.
Including when I was cutting the ties with you. There was an experience when that finished, that I felt that again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There are certain things that will put you onto the dharmic path. The dharmic path, I talk about it on my show all the time. That's what it feels like. It feels like that love, which is, it's worth pursuing and getting onto, because it just has such an amazing feel about it. And you summarize lots of dreams throughout the book, and I love that. Obviously, you've summarized the dreams and how it played into what was going on for you at the time. Why did you put this one in a complete appendix?
I think this one was the start of my journey, and there was just and like I say in the book, there was something about this dream. When I read your analysis, it struck through with me, and I'd never had that happen with any of my dreams before. and the detail you went into about my life, my karma, my purpose, and things like that, I'd never heard before from any other dream or anything. And so suddenly I realized that you've got something here. You know the secret sauce. And so at that time, I realized that there was something special about the way you interpret dreams. And so, and in fact, it's interesting because I know that I've had several of my dreams recently interpreted from your mentorship class students, and I'm seeing the same thing come from them, and it's really cool that you're kind of
Yeah.
passing the flame a little bit to other people and spreading it out throughout the world. So I love that.
Thank you for that. But so where to from here? What's next for you? Obviously, the book comes out tomorrow on the 11th of May. Is that when it's
Right.
available for
That's when it'll be
download?
available for purchase. It's available for purchase now, but it'll be available for download then, or you can order the hard copy book also.
So excellent. And we'll put a link under this video for people to be able to purchase it. Well, Bruce, it was a pleasure talking to you. Is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't ask that you want to leave the viewers with?
The one thing that people that have read it, they appreciate the love story aspect of it. That's the comment I keep getting, is that it's that love story that they really, that really is the continuity throughout the whole book. And I think it's my spiritual awakening, but it's also that love story backdrop in the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It definitely makes you want to keep reading and see what happens next.
No, I really appreciate your time. One of the things I know that through this whole journey, it's been the dreams. You can follow my dreams throughout the whole book, and it kind of explains what was going on. And that's been kind of the saving grace for my spiritual journey, is being able to follow those dreams and to be able to see what was happening in those at the time. And they really helped explain a lot of the things that were happening in my life. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. Well, that's the end of part one. We didn't get to the feature dream, which I will do on next week's show. Pleasure talking to Bruce. The story of a man whose life changed from listening to his dreams. And that's what will happen to you if you start listening to your dreams. So get on my list, go to dream-analysis.com and start off by downloading my dictionary. Until next week, take care.